Okay, the recording is on. Welcome back, everyone, to our second lecture, BC310 on Church and Ministry Administration. Anyone has any further questions? Please ask.
Yes, Pastor. Pastor, the case.
Sorry, go ahead, Lucy. You have a question?
In case of a reference check for background check, mainly it would be based on the character or the abilities he carries.
Yes, so we will do both. Yeah, we will do both. One is how have they performed in their work in the previous organization. So, we want to make sure that they were not terminated or dismissed or because of a lack of performance or because of poor performance. So that's one thing. And second is also we want to make sure that they were a good worker, they were able to work well with other people. So both will be checked when we do a reference check.
Okay. But in case of the employer gives only the right details, even if he's been terminated, how do you have a check-up on it?
Sorry, Lucy, like if the employer...
He projects him as a good employee, irrespective of the character he had or he's been terminated, how do we have a double check like?
That's true. Yeah. So like we said earlier, most people would try to give a good positive response and they want to be supportive. That generally happens. So very rarely will, unless there's been some serious issue. So we do the reference check as a potential source of knowing what could be wrong. The rest of it is our responsibility. Like when we go do the interview process, we will have to further check. So, the reference check happens, plus our interview also happens. And even if the reference is good, they say, oh, he's very good in their work. And there are no character issues, whatever. Even if that is good in the reference, but while we are doing our interview, hopefully that will surface. We may find out problems either in their competence or in their character, and we can detect that.
Okay. Pastor, one more it's small sort of confirmation. When we are referring up, if we are giving a positive about a person, knowing the character means looking into the family, what they're going to face if he's going to lose a job. Is that right or wrong?
See, I think at least this is my perspective. I want to look at the reference check from the perspective of the prospective employer, right? Okay. That means, see, the employer, the organization that is going to employ this person, is asking me about this person, and I want to keep their best interests, more than the interest of the individual, because they are the ones who are going to pay that person a salary. They are the ones who are going to take this person into that organization, and it's going to impact their organization. So whatever I say should be beneficial to the person who's asking me the question, which is that organization. So if there are things that I feel they should know that will help them in the decision, I'm not making the decision for them. I'm just saying, please take these matters into account while you make the decision. For example, I'll give you an example. When, a couple of months back, one other church in our city asked me for a reference check. And in fact, I think there were two different candidates. They came to me for a reference about a person who had worked with us, but this person had worked with us, almost more than 10 years ago. So this was a very long time ago, about 12, 13 years ago. So now 13 years later, they're asking me about that person, doing a background check, because that person had mentioned in his resume, All People's Church. So they're doing their check. Now, I had to say, I had to say what I knew about the person 13 years ago, right? Which is a long time, because in 12, 13 years, the person could have changed, could have become better, could have developed skills, whatever. So I had to qualify my response. I said, see, so when I responded, I said, this is information based on what I knew about the person so many years ago. It is quite possible the person has changed and learned new skills. So you will have to do a thorough check about what has happened in the last 13 years. But on that time, this person was terminated from APC for two reasons. One had to do with, this was the skill level, and the second was the character issue. That was the background. But this was 13 years ago. So I spoke what I had to say, but I also qualified it saying it's old information. A lot of things could have changed. So it's up to them to make the decision.
Okay. Just making it clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Pastor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. There's one more person online. Gertrude, do you want to ask a question?
Pastor, yes, regarding we do the reference check also, but we also have a probation period, right? Normally like 6 months for the staff to prove himself and then confirm him in service. So if there is anything that is, you are not happy from his work, then you can terminate him, right?
Yeah. So that is true. We usually, as a policy, we only do probation for freshers. That means they've just come out of college, or if somebody is coming back to work after a very long gap. Normally, people who have experience, we don't put them on probation. It could be an insult to them. So we don't do that. So if somebody is new from college, then we will say, look, your first 3 months, you're going to be on probation, and then you'll be made a permanent staff. Or we also do the other thing, which is internship. So when somebody's new out of college, they join us for an internship, during which time we can see their work. And usually this internship is for 6 months. If they're very good, we make them an offer much earlier. So, which happened recently to one person. He joined us for internship, 2 months. I saw his work was very good. We made him a job offer and he joined us. But if they're not that good, end of 6 months, either they can leave us or we can say thank you and we will not be offering you a job. So we have that internship option, and probation we do for, again, for those who are fresh out of college.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome. Question?
Pastor, if you can share any incident where a person has done with the interview process and he got 10 on 10 on each area, wherever you ask the questions and everything. But in the last, Spirit is saying, okay, don't hire him or her. Any incident?
Yeah. That's a good question. Where, I can think of one, like I was referring to this person whom we interviewed for chrysalis counseling. So this person was very good. In terms of just everything, it was, knowledge and everything is good. But I guess I wouldn't say the Spirit said don't hire, because like I mentioned, one thing that I did not like was his interaction with our own staff. So that was a thing which we could have overlooked, but I didn't overlook that. I took that into account. So something that was very purely where the Holy Spirit overrode all the other checks. Let me think. I can't think of an incident like that, exactly like that, where everything was like very good. All the interview was good. And it was just something where the Holy Spirit said, don't hire this person. At the moment, I can't think of an example other than like this chrysalis interview. Yeah. But if I remember something, I'll tell you. Good. All right. Any other questions before we go forward? All right, let's move on. All right. So bottom of page 23, I quickly mention about new employee orientation. That is, as an organization, we want to be ready that as soon as somebody joins us, everything is in place for them. They come in, they get everything set up, and there is an orientation from the HR. The HR goes through all the material. This is how we work, etc. There'll be an orientation from the IT team. Okay, here's how you report your time. You log into all these things. Here's how you get your email. All those things. The IT team will take care of that. So then their own team, which is the team that they're working with, they will start giving them work to do and get them going. So just generally happens. So now let's talk about salary and benefits. Right? How do we decide as a church organization, as a church? How do we decide people's salaries? Right? So everybody, all our staff are paid a fixed salary. Consultants are paid based on hours of work. So that could vary depending on how many hours they put. They will get paid. But we have an upper limit of 160 hours per month. That means you cannot work more. You should not. We don't want you to work more than that. And so it's like you can work maximum 160 hours. But most of them don't work that much. They'll be below that. That's for consultants. So now I'm talking about staff, right? So for the staff, the compensation, the total package is based on a base salary. They get a fixed salary. Plus there is a bonus. Usually it's a bonus that is given once a year, right? That means only in December. And it's a fixed amount for all our staff, equal for all our staff. So it doesn't matter whether you've been here so many years or not. If you work for more than 1 year, it's the same formula that's used for everybody. And there's an upper limit. So everybody, gets the same amount. Plus other benefits. I'll mention it. So this is what at APC we offer. Now, other companies or other organizations may do something different, but generally this is what we are doing at APC. Okay? So we do want to make people feel that they are paid fairly, and they are paid for their work they do and for what they bring to the organization. Right? So they should feel that they compensated fairly for that. Right? And for their work. So how do we decide on how much to pay per person? Right? Here are some things. What can the organization afford? Right? So that's very important. We can't, so for example, there may be organizations who pay more than us. There may be organizations that pay less than us. That will always be there. For example, for the same person, for their same kind of work, the corporate may be paying more because they have more money and they are profitable organization, profit-driven. Whereas we are not a profit-driven. We are, the tithes and offerings that people give us is what we use for the work. So what can we pay for each role? What can we afford to pay for each role? That's the starting point, right? So that is something internally we have, which our accountant and myself we look at it, and we keep looking at the monthly budget, how much money is coming every month, where is the money going, all that. So we have every month we're looking at our income expenses, so we know financially where we are, how much money is being spent on salaries. And so we need to keep that within a certain limit. If it is, there's a certain budget that we can allocate for salaries because we have a lot of other things to pay also. So within that, we can decide how much we pay for each role. Another criteria will be what is the level of skills and competencies this person brings, right? So based on the level of skill and the work they're doing, we will have to match the pay. Right? Again, it may not be what a corporate does, but for APC, this is what we can afford. What is the responsibilities of the work they're carrying? So are they overseeing more people? So it's not only that they're taking care of their own work, but they're also overseeing the work of so many other people. Then there's more responsibility, because they're helping the organization in much bigger way, that they're overseeing the work of people. What is the level of leadership that they're providing? Are they providing leadership to multiple areas? So example, many of our pastors are not only pastoring a church, but they're also leading multiple ministries. They're providing leadership and direction for multiple ministries, growing different areas. Like example, I would say, you take Pastor Kumar, he's pastor of South, but he's also handling member care, life coaching, chrysalis counseling, and so on. So slowly over time, we added more things. And so you grow these. And how is he doing in those areas? Is he growing those ministries? So if he's doing well in all those areas, then yeah, we can pay more. But if it's so, the level of responsibility that each person is carrying, level of performance and results in advancing organizational objectives. So every year we review people's salaries. If they do well, if they're growing those areas, we can increase. If they're not growing, then I will tell them, see, we'll leave your salary where it is. If they're really not doing well, then I say, okay, look, we'll have to cut down your salary. So sometimes we've actually brought people's salaries down because we're not seeing them grow over time, and they're not growing what they're doing. Then we'll have to put somebody else to do their work, which means now there's an additional expense to get the same work done. So in that case, I'll have to say, look, we'll have to bring your salary down. So every year we are reviewing each person's work, and based on the results, what is happening? Is it growing? Is it expanding? Are we reaching our objectives? Then we can adjust, increase their pay, and so on. Right? So are they personally growing? So a level of personal growth, learning, and development. Are they also learning new things? Are they also developing new skills? If they are stagnant, they're just the same way they are like the last year, 2 years, 3 years. They're not growing this. Then really giving them more pay is of no value, because, so that's why we keep motivating people. You have to learn new things. So we also have a professional development goal for all of them. Like, you have to learn new things or do these new courses so that they can grow professionally. And then, of course, if they actually do that, and we review that in the end of the year, we can then, give them increase in their compensation based on their own personal growth, learning, and development. And also important is that tenure with the organization. People who have worked longer with the organization should be rewarded if they have all the other above criteria also done. If they're just here but not growing, then that's not useful. They're growing thing, and they're also staying with us then. So all these factors go into account in deciding a certain role. Now, there are challenges in a Christian church or a ministry, because we don't have a benchmark. That means we can't look at what are they paying in those companies, we'll also pay. We can't do that, because one, we're not a regular corporate organization, right? So for example, you think of in the IT industry, you can benchmark against other companies who are doing same kind of work. What are they paying? We will also pay. But we can't do that. And second, we can't benchmark against other churches, because other churches may be in a different kind of a financial situation, right? Or we can't say those people are paying so low, we will also pay so low. No, maybe they're a different kind of a church, and they're serving a different demographic. And so we can't benchmark against things. So everything we are doing is based on internal criteria. That means things that we decide, simply because we cannot benchmark externally against other organizations. But I do have a fair idea of what is paid in the industry, right? So for the same skill level, what would they pay in the industry? we can't match that, but we should be somewhere close to it, right? We have an idea, okay, this is what the industry will pay for this. And I can say that, at APCs, in many roles, we are paying better than outside. We pay better than outside comparatively to other Christian mission organizations, and sometimes even to other smaller corporate organizations. Comparatively, we do good. We cannot compare ourselves with large corporations because they have much more money. But in terms of the size, you compare, okay, an organization of about 30 people. If you compare that with another organization with 30 full-time staff, what are they paying? What are we paying? We will, in many cases, do much better in terms of salaries. So it is all very internal because it's based on what the church can afford and so on. Question? Thank you. So, yes, you have a question. Go ahead.
In case of like COVID, like situations, so in that case, what you use?
So church does not get COVID. Just joking. So during the time we paid everybody's salaries, everyone. So that way very clear that yes, COVID was happened over 2 years, but everybody got paid. We never changed anything. Everything went because we told people to work from home. We were keeping people working from home. And everybody would pay their salaries. Another thing I share when we go to accounting is we try to keep the way we manage our money is very important. And over the years, this didn't happen overnight, but over the years, we've tried to save money as a church to make sure that, this is just an example. Suppose offering everything goes to zero. Just example, hopefully it never happened, but suppose from tomorrow, nobody gives even 1 rupee to the church. We should be able to function for at least 1 year, right, with the money we have. And hopefully in 1 year, we can, get back on our feet. So that's how we are, that even if everybody stops giving, we can still continue our work for 1 year, and and it's okay. But I don't think anybody will stop. It'll drop to zero. But it didn't happen like that. So I remember in the early days, and I will talk about this when we are doing about finances. In the early days, I said, okay, let us save at least 1 lakh a month. Let us save at least 1 lakh a month. Let us save at least 2 lakhs a month. That means our expense must be below our income so that we can at least put some money aside for the church, right? And we, from early days, we were able to do that. In fact, in the early days, we were having more income than we would spend. So saving, putting money aside. And we continue doing that now. Now we can save a little bit more. And we have to save a little bit more because we have so many staff and so many things going on, to make sure that we have enough operational expenses, that money to run month on month, even if something happens. Because, we can't go to the rent person and say, our landlord, and say, hey, something happened, we can't pay the rent. They don't care. You sign the lease, you have to pay the rent. That's all. Now, during COVID, some of our landlords, I think maybe 1 or 2 landlords, they themselves said, okay, you can pay a little less, or we won't raise the rent. But we didn't have to ask. They offered. We said, thank you. We accepted. Otherwise, we kept everything going. Yeah. And of course, we also saved a lot of money because we were not renting we couldn't have services. So some of the places which we were renting month on month, we didn't have to rent, like our auditorium in Central. No? So all that money we were saving because the services were all online during that COVID time. But during COVID time also we did that big project. We sent out about 6 crores, I think, all across India. We gave. So during COVID time, we took care of all our staff. Plus we gave, I think, 6 crores to help other churches, other people all across India during that time. So
corporate setting, there are some cost-cutting measures, layoff, pink slips, and things. So in church at large, I'm talking globally. Is it right if there was any requirement of a layoff? And is it right as a church to do that?
yeah, so cost-cutting measures. See, one is, we are called to be stewards. The Bible teaches us on stewardship. The Lord Jesus taught on stewardship. And in Luke 12, for example, in one of the illustrations Jesus used on stewardship, in Luke chapter 12, he talks about 3 things. He says, you have to be a faithful and a wise steward and accountable. Faithful, wise, and accountable steward. So, faithful to God, we have to be wise. What is wise? Means you have to be profitable, you have to multiply. You can't go into negative. You have to make sure everything is profitable. That's being wise. And accountable, meaning God is going to ask you, what you did with what to whom much is, in that parable, in that story, he says, to whom much is given, much will be required. If God has given you much, he'll ask you for more. So to that extent, you're accountable. So even we, in normal conditions, we cut costs. It's like every month, I will ask why we are doing things. Sometimes even small things. I'll give an example. Once, when we started Hindi service, first Sunday, we had lunch in the cafeteria. Then they came to Pastor Nancy said, this caterer will come and serve lunch there. I said, why? This caterer is more expensive than the caterer in the college. The students are already in the college. Why are we going to spend more money just for that? So now you understand what's happening behind the scenes, right? It's a small thing, but there's a 70 rupees difference per plate. And there are about maybe, 70 people, including all the volunteers, eating. Right? It's a small amount, but it's 4,900 rupees. Small amount. But I said, no, we will not ask this caterer to come there. It's unnecessary waste of that 5,000 rupees. Small amount. Okay? Everybody will eat in that cafeteria. We will eat whatever they give. Done. Small thing. It's a small decision. But so we are watching over everything. Even if it's 5,000 rupees, I don't save it because that gets multiplied by 52 Sundays. And that gets multiplied by so many years. And then the amount becomes suddenly very big. Right? So everything. So even in our normal day-to-day things, we look at, like if somebody, every event, everything, there's a budget, I ask questions. If there's unnecessary expense, then don't spend. And so every event, I will explain when we talk about finances, a budget has to be given. We look, why are you spending money on this? Even if it's small amounts, cut it. Because we want to be accountable. So cost cutting happens even under normal conditions. Now, if there is reasons to cut costs, whatever reason, in a ministry, in a church, what could be those reasons? One is if there is a sudden drop in contributions. Something has happened, and this usually happens, and we've seen it in other churches, ministries, and all that. They're running at a certain level budget. Suddenly, they're seeing that their income is going. That means the contributions are dropping. So, what should you do? You cannot keep spending money. So you'll have to cut down your expenses. And one of those cut down will be, what are the ministry areas we need to cut down? The ministry areas, maybe we can do the ministry, but through volunteers instead of having staff. Or do the same ministry in a different way, in a lower cost. So then you'll have to make those changes in order to be within your income, the contribution. So I think that is part of stewardship. Because if any organizations keep spending more than what's coming in, then one day will come when we'll have to close. Yeah. Layoffs is part of that cost cutting, right? Where you say, look, we are closing down this area of ministry. Please go. And I'll give an example. So we used to be on God TV. And this was an intentional thing. We closed it down. So we were on God TV from 2012. We started on God TV. And so we had a team of people, at least 3 people who were involved in God TV production, doing for us. Every week we had one program. And it was costing a certain amount of money. But then over time, I began to notice that more and more people are watching videos on YouTube. They're not sitting in front of TV. 2012, God TV was very big. Oh, everybody watching God TV. By the time we came to 2017, 18, more and more people are watching on YouTube. They're not, because YouTube you can watch when you want. You can watch how many ever times you want. God TV, it'll come on one particular time, it's gone. So, and I think in 2017 and surely in 2018, I told our team, I said, see, this is what is happening. We are going to stop God TV. At some point, we will stop. You all be ready. Right? Then 2019, September, we made the decision. End of this year, we will stop God TV. So December end will be our last God TV program. So then I told our team, I said, see, we are going to stop God TV in December. I'm giving you all 3 months. That means after 3 months, you won't have a job at APC. And we're going to stop God TV. So please start looking for jobs outside. And I will also help you. That means, like we had one person who was a full-time video editor, editing video. Another person was our director, what do you call it? Any production or whatever director. So we had, I think, 2 or 3 people we had in that team. So I said, we are stopping God TV. 3 months till December, you'll get your salary. But I will help you find a job. You give me a resume, I'll send it to other people who are in the ministry, and you also look for jobs. So that was an intentional thing because we didn't see value in continuing on God TV because most people are watching on YouTube now, and YouTube is free. And so we had to let go of these staff because we didn't have that work, but we did it in a nice way. 3 months, advance notice. I tried to help them find jobs by sending out the resume, whatever. So that was like a layoff, I think. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So let's talk about benefits. Page 24. What benefits do we give? One is group health insurance for all our staff and their immediate family. That means their spouse and their children, they all get health insurance. Right? So, and all our outreach churches also. So all our outreach pastors and their families are all covered in the health insurance. So when they can go to the hospital if anything is there, then insurance will cover. Then for all our staff, there is employee provident fund, which is mandatory by the government. So it's not an option. So the government requires us that for all full-time employees, the company also makes, the organization also makes a certain contribution. It goes into their retirement fund, right? So some amount will go from the employee's salary, contribution from the organization, it goes to them, their employees. We have paid vacation leaves, which is, I think it's 20 days per year, plus, plus all the 11 government holidays, plus I think it's 5 or I think maybe 6 casual leave. So 20 vacation days, 6 casual leave, and 11 government holidays. That's many leaves people get in a year. It's for all our staff. Plus, we do learning and development, which is we try to do it in different ways. One is we say every staff can take, I think it's 2 courses at the Bible College every semester as part of their work. That means they can take 2 courses. So that means they're 4 hours a week. It'll be considered part of their work, so they don't have to worry. So that's they can do that. Plus, we also have for learning and development 10,000 rupees per staff per year. They can use it to do any course they want related to their work. Right? You can use, but you have to show us your certificate. You have to complete your course. Right? So you can use 10,000 rupees for learning anything related to your work. They can do online course, whatever. But you have to show us that you finished your work. Then we will give you the money back. So that's for learning and development. Or if they, yeah, so these are 2 main things. And then annual bonus, like I explained earlier. Right? Lastly, I'll share this and then we'll stop. In addition to all of this, there are intangible benefits. That means, why would somebody want to work for APC? Right? Because it gives the opportunity to be involved in kingdom work directly. Opportunity for mission. So we let our staff, so for all our staff, they can do 1 paid mission trip in a year. We'll pay for their trip to go to like any of our outreach churches, minister and come back. We'll pay for the trip. Plus, there are 6 days of ministry related leave. That means in a year, they can take up to 6 days to go and minister in some other organization, like in another conference, whatever. So there's opportunity for missions. Job security, meaning in the sense that, look, as long as you're doing a good work, you're doing your work well, nobody's going to disturb you. There's opportunity to grow, both professionally, spiritually, in your ministry areas. We try to have a good workplace culture. I mean, we all work hard. We pursue excellence, but we try to keep it in a healthy way. Brand. So hopefully when you say you're working for APC, nobody says, oh, you're such a bad person. No. Then when you say I'm working for APC, they look at you in a good light. And we encourage, quality of life. Let's try to keep things in balance. So we let people manage their time and so on. Right? So there's a certain amount of flexibility in that. Okay, so let me stop here for today. Let's see if there are any questions from those who are online. Any questions? Or those in class as well? Any questions? Yes.
Pastor, is this happen in like office? Like someone is doing his work properly, but you want something more from him, and he's not able to give that work, fulfill that work. So he said it's okay, or you tell him to to leave.
Yeah. So the question is, if somebody's doing their work properly, but we are expecting more, then what do we do, right? So one very important thing is we want everybody to keep growing, right? So nobody can stagnate. So nobody is allowed to do a job, even if they're doing it well, and to stay at that level. You have to keep growing because the organization is growing. Everything around you is changing. How I used to do my work 3 years ago, today could be of no value because so many things have changed, right? The demand, the requirement is also changing, right? So the situation that you mentioned actually becomes a big problem for us. it becomes a big problem in the organization. When the individual is good, they're good at a certain level, but they're not growing. And whereas the organization is growing, the demand is changing. And if they're not growing with that, it becomes a big problem for us. So for me, as a person or as a leader, that is one of the most painful things to deal with, because the person is not growing. And so what I normally have done in the past is try to, I will definitely talk to them and be giving feedback. Hey, you have to keep growing in this area. You have to keep growing. Give feedback. If they're still not able to grow, then I will say, okay, maybe this role is not the right role for you because you've hit a certain limit. Maybe we have to change their role. So I've done that. Okay, we'll change their role. And we'll do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And then after that, we'll say sorry. But during this whole process, the person knows that, hey, their performance is not up to the mark. Meaning they're good people, they're good in doing the routine work, but the routine work is no longer okay because you have to keep growing, right? So it has happened many times. I mean, not many times. It happened sometimes in the past where the exact scenario you've mentioned. And I've worked with the individual trying to change, help them in different roles. And after some time, we'll say, see, it's not working out. We'll terminate. Yeah, because every person has to keep growing in their skills and what they're doing. Yeah. Okay. There's a question here. Pastor, in case of small church with only a single pastor, how to decide on the pastor's salary? If he has formed a trust, should the trustees be involved in deciding the salary or just the pastor? That's a good question. I think the pastor can, if he has formed a trust, I think it depends. It is good for the trustees to be involved in deciding. The pastors, I think, should do it in conjunction with the trustees, so that he can. Basically, we want to make sure that there's nothing wrong happening. Also, the other thing is we need to make sure that the pastor's needs are taken care of, right? So one is we don't want misuse of money, but at the same time we want to make sure the pastor is taken care of. So there is no set rule. The pastor can decide if he's a man of integrity. We can let him decide, given the freedom to decide what he pays himself and what goes to the operations of the church. If he's a man of integrity, then trustees don't need to be involved. If for the sake of checks and balances, then yeah, okay, trustees can be involved. So I think it really depends on the dynamic between the pastor and the trustees, how this works. There is no set rule, but I think the basic thing is the pastor's needs should be taken care of, and then sufficiently without misuse of funds, the rest of the money goes in. But in terms of the overall finances, that should be made public, because it is the money given by the congregation to the pastor. So the pastor should be accountable to the congregation and to the trustees. So the financials of the trust of the church should be made public to the congregation, to the trustees, not necessarily the pastor's individual salary, but overall, how much is coming, how much is going, where the money is being used. Okay. Sam, you have a question, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, Pastor, I had a question. So, in terms of church health and growth, do we look at tithes and offering as a metric, and is that scriptural? Like, how do we, or is that purely just, it's just a spiritual discipline to encourage congregation to give? Yeah, that dynamic. Just was wondering.
I think the generosity of the church, of the congregation, is a good indicator of spiritual health. And the more generous the congregation is, we can say that they are doing well spiritually. You say, on what basis do we do that? When you look at the book of Acts, you see that when the Holy Spirit was moving in the early days, the natural outcome of the Holy Spirit's presence was generosity. Right there in Acts chapter 2, it says, the people didn't think of what they had as their own, but they shared with one another. They gave, and you see that they brought and gave it to the apostles so that that can be then distributed to the people. So generosity is an expression of the nature of God. It's an expression of the move of the Spirit of God. So one of the signs that the Spirit of God is moving is generosity. We see that in the book of Acts. So purely as a metric or as a measure of church health, generosity is a very good indicator. But it doesn't necessarily, we're not looking at the amount, but we're looking at the heart, because a village church can be very generous, but the amount that comes may be small. But the people are being generous. So that's the indicator, the generosity, the condition of the heart. The actual amount is needed more from an accounting perspective. Okay, so this is the actual amount that comes in. Therefore, the church can do these things with that amount. That's a different thing. As a locator of spiritual health, generosity is a true and a good indicator. Yeah.
Thank you, Pastor.
So, all right, let's close for today. Thank you, everyone, for being on the class, and we'll continue talking about these things next week. Thank you. Angeline, I'm not sure if I answered your question. If not, just send me an email, and I can share more. Thanks.